Hey y'all, Carolina Tony. Today the road brings me to Appomattox, Virginia. This is the place where on April the 9th, 1865, General Robert E. Lee surrendered to General Ulysses S. Grant. The village behind me has been partially restored. Some are original buildings, and we are going to explore this morning. And we'll get started, but right after this station identification. This is Appomattox Courthouse. Now, a lot of people will read, and from reading they will come up with the idea that General Lee surrendered to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse. Well, this village was known as Appomattox Courthouse. That is not the actual building that he surrendered in. He surrendered in the McLean House, which is over here. Around midday of 1865, Robert E. Lee arrived at this house along with some of his staff, and they went inside and waited approximately 2 hours for General Grant to arrive. His headquarters was in a tent about a mile, approximately a mile from here. Somewhere on the top of this hill was Lieutenant General Ulysses S. Grant's headquarters. This is where he was shortly before going into Appomattox Courthouse. They were inside for about an hour and a half. When they came out, the surrender of the Army of Northern Virginia had been completed. It's the room where the deed took place.
Oh, this is where the meeting takes place. Yep. So, I know you probably haven't seen our video.
No.
Okay, so I'll give you a little background. You know, Lee's trying to get to North Carolina and join forces with Joseph Johnston in the Army of Tennessee. And the reason he's coming down the Lynchburg-Richmond Stage Road is he's trying to get to the railroad station 3 miles to our west. That's where the trains are. Those trains will be captured on the evening of the 8th by troops under Custer. The Union Cavalry will then set up a blocking position back here to our west up on the ridge. You see more blue uniforms in that picture there than you do gray. So after about 20 minutes of socializing, Lee asked for terms. So that little table, the scroll-away table, is off next to the sofa. That's pulled out for Grant to work at. He will write out a rough draft of the terms in pencil, pass them over to Lee for Lee's approval. Basically, there are 4 provisions. First of all, everybody who surrenders here is to be paroled until properly exchanged. Most of the exchange won't take place because within a few months this thing is completely over. The officers are allowed to keep their sidearms, their personal belongings, and their horses. The Confederates have to submit 2 copies of the rosters of all the units that are being surrendered here. We have the names of over 28,500 men who will be paroled here. And finally, all of the war materials have to be surrendered. It will be the cavalry on the 10th, the artillery on the 11th. They will do that down in the river valley. The infantry will stack their arms out here on this road on the morning of the 12th. The mantelpiece came back to us by way of a great-grandson of the McLeans. The sofa to the right came back from a granddaughter. So those 3 items were present in the room. Sofa's been reupholstered. That's horsehair. On the sofa is a replica of the item that is truly stolen from the home, and that is the little doll. The 7-year-old daughter Lula had left the doll down here in the parlor when the family goes upstairs. They're still in the house during this meeting. They simply go upstairs and walk off with it. In 1993, his descendants returned the doll to us. She's upstairs in the courthouse along with the candlesticks.
Wow.
So we did get the doll back.
This is the doll that belonged to the McLean's youngest daughter. It's known as the Silent Witness doll. As some of General Grant's staff was rummaging the house during and after the signing of the surrender, looking for souvenirs, a child's doll was found in a room, which the younger officers tossed from one to the other, calling this the Silent Witness doll because it had two eyes penciled in but no mouth. The doll, belonging to 7-year-old Lula McLean, was carried to New York by Captain Thomas Moore of Major General Sheridan's staff. For 128 years, Moore's family kept it before giving it back. Also, these candlesticks were taken as well, but they've been returned.
The Army of the James. Eventually Lee realizes he's trapped here. And so Marshall, when he comes into the village, says the only white gentleman he sees walking around is Wilmer McLean, the owner of this home. And there's a reason for that. The McLeans only moved here in the fall of 1863. There are 4 McLean items in there. The chest of drawers just to your left, the crib, the desk near the front window, and the clock are McLean items. Everything else is period furniture, but it's not McLean furniture, to give the house the appearance of a home. This property originally started out as a tavern. This was a small hotel to serve the stagecoaches and other travelers along this road.
Of course, back then the kitchens would have been detached from the house because of the heat being so hot and no air conditioning, and also because of fire. This is the site where the McLean house was. As you can see right here, this is the kitchen. It remained, and that was around 1914. In 1941, they start some excavation in order to have it rebuilt back in the same place on the same foundation. Here it is in 1948 as it is being rebuilt to look as it looks today. This is the Clover Hill Tavern as it appeared in 1865. And here is the Clover Hill Tavern today, built in 1819. This was the first building that would have become the village of Appomattox Courthouse. The Clover Hill Tavern served travelers along the Richmond-Lynchburg Stage Road. For several decades, it offered the village's only restaurant and only overnight lodge. This would have been the Woodson Attorney at Law's office. This is the Appomattox jail. It was completed in 1867. This was the new jail that replaced the original that was burned down in 1864.
This ain't the first time I've been thrown in here. All that I have, most likely. So let me tell you something about this old jail. It ain't the best one around. No heat in the one, no air in the summer. But it's better than the old jail used to be across the road down. They put this one up right after the wall, after the old one turned. That other one was actually the old that cut a fire. Well,
This is probably where the jailer would have stayed. About a mile from the Appomattox Courthouse National Park is the American Civil War Museum. I have been told that Robert E. Lee's coat as well as his sword are in here, so we're going to tuck our head inside and check it out.
Any sacrifice save that of honor and independence.
This was Robert E. Lee's sword.
Everybody is busily preparing to resist any attempt.
This coat belonged to Major General Patrick R. Cleburne. He was Irish born and he commanded one of the most effective divisions in the Army of Tennessee, earning him the nickname Stonewall Jackson of the West.
After 4 years of arduous service marked by unsurpassed courage and fortitude, the Army of Northern Virginia has been compelled to yield to overwhelming numbers and resources. I need not tell the brave survivors of so many hard-fought battles who have remained steadfast to the last that I have consented to this result from no distrust of them, but feeling that valor and devotion could accomplish nothing that could compensate for the loss that must have attended the continuance of the contest. I determined to avoid the useless sacrifice of those whose past services have endeared them to their countrymen. By terms of the agreement, officers and men can return to their homes and remain until exchanged. You will take with you the satisfaction that proceeds from the consciousness of duty faithfully performed. And I earnestly pray that a merciful God will extend to you His blessing and protection. With an unceasing admiration of your constancy and devotion to your country, and a grateful remembrance of your kind and generous consideration for myself, I bid you all an affectionate farewell. R. E. Lee, General.
Some ex-Confederates would not accept life in the reunified United States. An estimated 10,000 former Confederate officers, soldiers, and their families chose to exile in England, Canada, Mexico, or Central and South America. In Brazil, Confederate exiles established a colony that came to be known as Americana. Descendants of the Confederados still live there today. For some that might wonder, here is the death mask of Robert E. Lee. Well, I hope you have enjoyed our little trip to Appomattox Courthouse. There's a lot of history that happened here. While Lee only surrendered his army, the Army of Northern Virginia, it will be some time later until all of the other armies had surrendered. But that's what makes us who we are today. I want to thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give me a big old thumbs up. And if you will, please share this video with your family and friends. But until next time, y'all have a good day.